The views and opinions expressed during Love and Life with Lana and Dave are those only of the speakers and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or the position of our podcast hosts or affiliates. Any content provided is not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, anyone, or anything. All right, let's do it.
You're listening to Love and Life with Lana and Dave, the podcast where logic is power and you take control. Thank you for tuning in and making the choice to listen in and get ideas for your own love and life. Now, here are your hosts, Lana Williams and David Vaccaro. Guess what? I'm David.
Guess what? I'm not David. He's David and I'm not.
That's right.
I'm Lana and he's not.
That's right. She's Lana and I'm not. And I just want to forewarn you guys. This week's episode might have some silliness in it, even though the discussion we're having is not silly. But for some reason, I'm in a very silly mood. And pre-roll here, we've been...
He's overtired. Or no, he's undertired. I don't know. There's a thing where you sleep too much and get
I did. I think I'm just happy to be able to speak. And,
maybe.
Maybe I feel a little bit better. That could be the thing. And I'm like overly excited. I didn't take any like cough medicine or anything like that. So...
Right.
Yeah. So we get a pretty interesting one this week, though. It's the logical discussion of men's health. Oh, boy.
Yes. So as podcasters and in society right now, there are lots of things that are geared towards women, especially as of late with everything that's going on, right? So women are in discussion a lot, which is fine. Of course, there's no problem with that. But there should be, a discussion on like men's health, emotionally, mentally, physically, just things that men deal with that maybe don't get discussed as much as they should.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
and I think that's something that, I think it's goes way back to because men were supposed to be the tough ones, right? So we're supposed to just suck it up. We've always been taught that, right? Now things are changing, of course. And, but there's a lot of other things that we're going to discuss today too. Like why, like what is the logical reasons for some of these things? Like, as you all know, we've talked about it. I have gone to therapy, for my messed up brain, and I wanted to have it fixed. So I did do something about it. But we don't necessarily talk to people about the problems that we feel very often. I've learned that I do more often today than I used to. When I was younger, I kept it to myself. I just sucked it up. And, the stress inside men, that's why a lot of men have heart attacks, I think.
Yeah.
You look at the statistics with men and women having heart attacks, men far outweigh women when it comes to heart attacks. And one of the biggest causes of heart attacks is stress, high blood pressure, and,
and bottling it up and ignoring it doesn't necessarily fix anything.
Right.
It sometimes makes things worse. Somebody said to me once years ago, and I never forgot it. I don't even know where I saw it, but that over society, as you get older, the things that you learn, in society as you grow up, that women, when we cry, as women growing up or as little girls growing up, to some degree, of course, not in my family because my family wasn't normal.
Right.
But most of my friends that were girls growing up, they got coddled a lot when they cried.
Yep.
The mother would come running over. Oh my God, are you okay? Let me wipe your tears. What happened? And all this other stuff.
Right.
My family, of course, told me, "Hey, what's your problem?" You know, I was told to walk it off frequently, for whatever reason. Like I think I was a highly Irish family, and that's why it was a very stoic situation. But men aren't. That doesn't happen with men. When little boys cry, they get told, "What are you doing? Fix your face." That's what you
rub dirt on it.
Right. Yeah. And if something hurts or whatever the case may be, that you need to just your emotional response to it is just like not welcome societally. Right.
Yeah.
But I am hurt. But the emotion of anger is the one for boys. The emotion of anger is the one kind of justified or allowed emotion.
Right.
And for women, like being crying and being sad is like the emotion that most of society is okay with.
Right. And we've got that.
Right. So as we get older, that's what somebody said to me. That's why a lot of women are in therapy and a lot of men are in jail.
Huh.
And I thought, well, I mean, this is, of course, not every man is in jail, but I'm saying, men are more willing to go bust something up, punch walls, punch things.
And I did when I was
destroy stuff.
Absolutely.
Right. Because that was their way of letting emotions out that wasn't frowned upon.
It wasn't crying.
They weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't matter if it was crying. Even if really, really overly happy wasn't, at least from what I could see,
it was
growing up from
gay.
little boys my age.
And I don't mean gay as in gay, like the sexual preference. I mean gay as in gay, flighty, happy. Yeah, it was not okay for a guy to like.
You weren't supposed to. I think maybe that men felt or society felt that if you were a little boy and you showed too much emotion, you were vulnerable to somebody coming and getting the best of you somehow. So you had to be stoic all the time. The only thing you could really do is be mad.
And that's where we get this thing. And it's kind of funny because I'm going to share a little story. When I was in high school and me and my girlfriend got in a fight, did I cry? Nope. I ran down into the cellar because I had a punching bag in the cellar that they built me so I wouldn't punch holes in my wall. Okay. Mm-hmm. My mother's boyfriend literally made me a punching bag. Now, if I actually psychotherapize myself, is that a word? Mm-hmm. Psychotherapize? Because if it's not, it is now. So psychotherapized myself. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering that, like, I've seen people when they get in a fight, like my girlfriend would cry and I'd get mad. Mm-hmm. So, and you're absolutely right. However, I do know where mine came from. My mother, when I was little, I remember saying it hurts and I was crying. She goes, "It hurt, you little pussy." And that's why to this day, I literally use that in my own head. Like if I'm trying to do something and it's difficult to do, I'll say, suck it up, don't be a pussy, and do it. And I say that in my own head, and that's what motivates me.
Well, they say your parents, what they say to you as a kid, you indoctrinate that your stuff in your head. 100%. And that same thing happens to me.
Yep.
And like I said, I can probably identify more with the boys and the girls, not for any reason except that I was taught not to be emotional when I was a kid.
Right.
My family wasn't. It started when I was 3, 4, 5. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I had tantrum issues when I was a kid. I would destroy things. But I learned really quickly that I didn't really like the outcome of the destroying things.
No, right. It was no.
Usually it was something that belonged to me and nobody cared except me about it. So I'd be like, well, that sucks. I had this thing and I broke it. Now I don't have it anymore. Okay, that's not a good idea.
That's bad.
Right.
That was my favorite toy.
If anger issues aren't dealt with, there are little boys that will get locked up over it. I mean, it's not that it's always going to be that way, but
I mean, I had to deal with it. And did I have anger issues? I wouldn't suggest that I had anger issues, but that was my go-to emotion, right? Because I knew, like, it's sad to say, but I even used to tell my kids, there's no reason to cry. You're hurt physically, get mad, swear or something. And I used to tell my kids that. And I'm not a bad father. I know I'm not a bad father. And I say, look, the only time you should be crying is if it's an emotional and it hurts inside. Then you can cry. So I did tell them that part. But physical pain, crying doesn't help it at all. Crying does actually help emotional pain. It lets it out, at least, I think. But
what we should really be trying to teach kids is that we should be teaching them how to identify. Like, we should actually be giving them a range of emotions and saying, what do you identify the most with, so that they could actually figure out what it is that they're actually feeling. Right. Because we filter all of it, right? Like all of your stuff that you felt, Dave, as a kid, you filtered through anger, and you probably thought you were angry, but really it wasn't. It was a recycled emotion that was some other
Exactly. I probably would have cried if I didn't. Yeah.
Okay, but then there's also sad and there's angry, but there's 1,400 other different types of emotions that you could put your finger on and say, you know what? Okay, I feel like this. Maybe neither one of those things is the right way to deal with it.
True. Yep.
But at least knowing what it is. Oh, okay. And why do I feel this way?
Cry or get mad.
What did you say?
And some people,
those are the two
get so mad they cry, right?
I think those are the acceptable ones. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Those are the two emotions that society is accepting of for those particular genders or have been.
Right.
But those are not the only two things that you can do. I'm just saying.
Right.
It's just other ways to deal with it. And it doesn't have to be the only accepted emotion that your parents and your family and your
Right. It's however you
let you do.
So the one of the things too is that we were talking about pre-show on show notes, because we do have a bit of a conversation, and then when we start getting too deep into it, I go, okay, now let's roll, because I don't want to anymore. So we were talking about community and how women have a group of like friends and women. They have a lot of people they can go to when they're feeling.
We build it.
You build a community, right? Men do not do that. Okay. And guys, I'm speaking as a man. We don't go to our buddy and say, oh, I'm having such a bad day. Come over and, snuggle me in bed and watch TV.
I don't think that's
not all women do that, but some women do. They get their ice cream. Their friend comes over. They have coffee. They sit and cry together. Whatever they do, however they handle it.
Okay.
Right. That's their support system. Guys do not do that. We have this thing where also, and I want to mention in here because it's part of this. One of the reasons we don't, and guys, this is a whole nother story. This will be a whole nother episode, I'm sure. And we've touched on it a little bit in the past. If a guy goes to another guy that he feels he can trust, now, obviously, my circle is very small, and I trust the guys in my circle very, very much, right? This would never happen with my friends. Has it in the past? Yes. You reach out, you talk to a male friend, and you're saying, listen, I'm having a tough time. Things aren't great at home, blah, 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 whatever it is. Next thing you know, guess who's talking to her? And it happens a lot, and I hear about it a lot.
Oh, you're talking about if you have a girlfriend issue.
Yes, you have a girlfriend issue. You go to a male friend, and next thing you know, your male friend is talking to your girlfriend.
That's what I meant by competitive. So you asked me earlier, and sorry if everybody hasn't heard the beginning of this because we were talking before this, but I said that it seems like women aren't as competitive as men, and what I meant was
during that
if my friend comes to my house, my girlfriend comes to my house and says to me, and when I mean by girlfriend is one of my best friends, and she's dealing with like a boyfriend issue,
right?
And she comes over. My allegiance is not to this guy.
Correct. As
in
well
any
as
way,
should not be
for him.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
So she comes over and she said, to be honest with you, don't get me wrong. If I have a girlfriend that comes over and she tells me about a guy and some shit she did that's not right, I'm gonna call her out.
Right.
So I'm not the type that does.
You're not
going to
call him and tell him about it.
No.
Right. That's just horrible.
Other than to tell him I think it's a douchebag if like, for some reason I run into him and I see him do some stuff, it's none of my business, and I stay out of their particular into their relationship that's between the two of them.
Right.
But my allegiance is to her as a friend, and of course I want to make sure she feels like she's safe to talk to me about it. Of course, more than once we have a whole nother story about more than once where I start to say, okay, well we had this conversation and we discussed we decided this was the good way to go about it, and have you done that?
Right. Yeah.
But my friend's her, if something is going on with her, my ear is like to me, that's the priority for me, is to sit and listen to her. And whatever it is, if she wants to have Ben and Jerry's, then
so
we're going to get Ben and Jerry's or whatever.
That's right.
Or a couple of drinks or whatever it is. So she wants to stay at my house all night because she doesn't want to be by herself. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah, and I was even telling Lana earlier during our show notes is we were talking a little bit about it. And when I go to therapy, I prefer to have a female, and the reason I prefer to have a female is because I feel like maybe it's the lack of competitiveness that may happen.
I hope your therapist by law cannot call your girlfriend and talk to her about it. That. And you know that.
I do know that. And I don't think that's what it is. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's because, maybe it's because I'm single and I don't have a girlfriend. So
Dave's got some homework to do.
There's a.
Well, you need to figure it out why that is, right?
I will. Well, I could figure it out right now if I talk it through, because that's how well I know myself.
Do we all have to do this with you?
No, we don't.
I'm kidding. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, we don't. But I mean,
I'm seriously not trying to be a bitch.
No,
I'm kidding with him.
Yeah, she is. She's smiling. You guys can't see her. She's smiling and rolling her eyes at the same time. So I'm really fucking confused.
He's talking about his feelings, but
no. Well,
I don't like.
This is the thing. We need to be able to do that, because guys don't have that community that we should have, that women have.
Right.
Women build a community And if they feel sad, they have somebody to go to and talk to. And, they're going to talk about it. They're going to do whatever they got to do. Where guys are just like, come on, let's go get laid. What?
Right.
And I will say, and I love my dad, but if I go to my dad and I'm like, I'm feeling sad about this, he's like, oh, let's just go out and we'll go meet some women, you blah, blah, blah. That's his answer. Right. So, and a lot of guys, that's their answer. And
I think it's passed down from generations that's just the only thing that guys know how to do because that's what they were taught.
That's right. That's right.
So it's not anybody's fault. It's almost like this weird traditional thing. That,
it's generational. It's been going on for years. I mean, look, guys used to go to work one of my ex-girlfriends when we were young, I was a kid. I was like 16, 17, and she was my girlfriend. Her father was having a heart attack, and he went to work. He drove to work because he's like, I got to go to work.
Right.
And, he ended up having a stroke. So, it was a stroke, not a heart attack. But he wasn't feeling well, but he still went to work. We were taught as men to suck it up, rub dirt on it. And so we go through this whole process where we do suck it up, and we do.
Right.
And because of that.
And it takes a toll on them as human beings.
Of course it does.
Physically.
Yeah, phically. Emotionally.
That neoepinephrine, remember that in the brain episode we had? Yeah. The neoepinephrine, that is that's a nasty chemical that your body produces that you should not have, and it's not, it's detrimental. And so is cortisol. Those are the two things that if you are going through trauma or stress or anything like that, even if you don't let anybody know about it and you think you're good with it, your body will produce that chemical.
Right.
And it's counterproductive to your system physically.
Yeah.
To have those chemicals going through your brain. Yep. Not only do you lose to gain weight, but it just makes your system functions. It doesn't function correctly with that going on. So I don't know. There's going to be a way. I guess you can tell me, Dave, because you're the guy here. What would be the best way, for guys to understand that, like, maybe they should build a community of, hey, I'm a guy. I want to make sure that friends around me that are guys have a support system.
The thing is okay. So it goes back to, and we know where it comes from, right? We always hear that men are more logical, women are more emotional, and that's not the case altogether. But men.
I think sometimes we're taught that. I think that's true.
You're taught that, but it's the way it goes too. I mean, look, when I've been in a lot of relationships, and the woman is the one crying when I'm trying to explain things, right? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because there's many times where I wanted to cry too, so it's okay, and I'm not knocking it at all. But I think that we need to start realizing it's okay for men to be emotional. It's not a bad thing to be an emotional person. I'm a very emotional person, and I will tell you exactly how I'm feeling at all times, because emotions are also part of your communication. And, people are like, oh, I'm a great communicator. Are you though? Because if you're feeling shitty about something and you come home and you start a fight with your wife or your girlfriend or whoever because you're having a bad day, guess what you just did? You did not communicate, and she's not the enemy. You're having a bad day. Right. You making her the enemy. Like, I hate this phrase. Well, you have a safe zone where you get to go off and yell at the person, and that's not a safe zone.
Yeah, that's
shitty, right?
I don't think I remember ever hearing that.
I hear it all the time. It's called something else.
I know you're like a safe place to fall, or a safe space. But I've never heard a safe space used like in that way.
Yeah, I hear it all the time. I've
heard of like where a safe space is a place that you can actually sit with somebody that isn't going to judge you, and you can tell them something.
With that. I agree.
I've heard of that, but I've never heard like a safe space is somewhere where you can come home and just like let loose on somebody else.
It's your safety zone. That's what they refer to themselves. A woman that gets like torn up because her man had a bad day at work. She's like, well, it's the safety zone, so I understand. And I'm like,
no.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah, you send those women to me next time you hear that.
Yeah, right. Oh,
I got something to talk to them about.
A lot of them. I should have them call in. We're going to talk about safety zones one day and be like, you
have
a safety zone at home? Like, are you okay to be like treated like shit because somebody's having a bad day, and they can apologize later and it's okay?
And to some degree, and I don't want to bring this around to women because that's not what we're doing, but women are not. That we are not men's like psychologists. We are not. That's not what we're there to do. We're not there to make them okay and fix them and all that. Sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, I understand that it's tough for men to understand how to fix themselves, and so like this is what we're hoping to accomplish.
Really,
discussing.
And I, as a guy who's been through this myself and fixed myself, and I think that I get a pretty level-headed head on my shoulders. I did fix myself. I went through. If I ever went through my entire childhood with this audience, they would shit. I mean, I've been through some stuff, and I wanted to turn that around, and I changed my life and became a successful human being. I mean, I went from a drug addict to a successful human being, and the reason I did that is because I looked for help and looked for to change my mental health, because your mental health is all of your health. Your mental health controls every single thing in your life. So if we can start building community, and I have, by the way, I actually have some male friends that I can literally talk to, and they're okay with it. You know, we joke with each other and be like, if you do it again, I'm going to kick you in the balls. You know, we have to add
that's
stuff,
fine.
you know.
But yes, but that's okay, because that's, I mean, even I bust balls like that, and that's okay. Part of it.
Yeah, it is.
But I think it comes from men having to, like, I'm going to go back to the GI Bill days of like the late 50s and say, well, they were supposed to get in their car or get on the train and go to work and come back. And the women, they created, because women were like living amongst a society of like suburban at one point, there was an issue, even in the 40s, maybe in the 30s, women were on like almost like I call it the Tupperware circuit, but really, they were all sort of in their respective neighborhoods in their houses all day, and they would go back and forth. And hey, I got this idea, I got this recipe. Hey, if you want to like hang up your laundry a certain way, I'll teach you. Whatever. They all helped each other get through the day and whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
And it starts with that, and then it's
guys never did. Guys,
right? Well, I mean, guys were off working.
Correct. Yeah.
And technically, they were probably supposed to be competitive because they were all in the workplace and couldn't really tell each other anything because they were all trying to make their buck. I get that.
Right.
So,
but things changed, things have changed. You look at women today, and even on social media, women, even though they don't do it, they claim that they'll do it, and some do. I'm not saying that they all don't, but you see, women have to stick together and pick women up, and they do. And a lot of people do actually do it, whether they do it in real life besides social media. I don't know. I do see it all the time. Like I have female friends, and we'll be out and she'll see a woman and she'll be like, I love those shoes, always giving compliments and kind of building each other up. Guys do not do that, right?
No, because
actually they're
competitive,
down, especially when you're out at the bar, right? I see it all the time, and it irritates me more than anything. And you've heard me talk about this before, where a guy is out and he's with his buddy, his best friend. They're out drinking together, and they're talking to a girl, and all of a sudden, one of the guys starts shitting on the other guy to make himself look better in front of the girl, or to make that
That's
guy.
what I mean by competitive.
Yes, it's horrendous. It's disgusting.
It is.
I put my friends on a pedestal all the time. If there's a woman there,
funny.
you can have her. Yep. If that's really what you need, have at it. Because
I have a bunch of male friends, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but I got to say this from a female perspective. I have a lot of male friends, and I've sat down with them, and I've said, we've just compared notes about going out on a Friday night or whatever.
Yep.
My girlfriends, we had rules like, if we're all going out, if the four of us are out, the four of us are out. The four of us leave together. One person doesn't leave the group. If a guy comes along and he's a predator, we all protect that person. If she drinks too much, all of that. If some girl comes into the group and decides that she's going to take somebody's boyfriend, or she's going to go off with a guy she doesn't know or whatever, like, she gets lambasted by us.
Right. Yeah.
Because we don't, we have the buddy system. If you're ever anywhere where there's women, you'll notice we don't go to the bathroom by ourselves.
Nope.
And there's a lot of reasons why we don't.
Correct.
Sometimes it's annoying, but I mean, that's why. It's because we're trying to make sure that we're looking out for each other to get through the night and make sure that we're protective of each other, because we're a community or a little group that we watch out for each other all night long. That's, to us, it's part of girls' night out.
It doesn't even have to be somebody they know. I've seen women stand up for a string.
Well, no, that has happened too. But I'm saying we have those rules. And yes, my sister and I remember my sister and I being out once. I forget where we were. But my sister and I were out somewhere, and my sister saw like a girl that was way, way too drunk, and like a guy trying to get her into a car. And it looked like this guy was. Yeah,
he's about to take her.
And so my sister was just like, oh no, we don't, like, that's not going to happen on my watch. And she went over there and she was like, what are you doing? And, so she kind of picked the girl up, and she's like, I don't know if this girl was with this guy or not, but she was so out of it that I didn't like what I was seeing.
Right.
It just didn't look
so
right.
It's okay to check. Right. And
so she's like, I went over there and I got her away from him. And whatever. We got her a cab, but I forget what it was that happened, but like he was trying to like, hey, she was like literally not able to stand up and she wasn't
Right.
able to stand up straight. And he was trying to get her in the car and get her out of there. And my sister was just, for us, we get a weird feeling or whatever.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I spoke with some of my male friends and they were like, oh, no. If we go out together, we like all might leave with different people at different times. We all meet there and like they'll all ditch each other in a place in a second.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's foreign to me. What do you mean?
It is.
You guys come down together. Oh, because if my buddy's hanging out with some chick and it looks like it's going well, I get out of the way. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. And I'm like, I know, but like, what about the fact that like you guys just all aren't accountable for each other because you're supposed to be together?
Right. They
don't do that. No. They're like, see you later.
Guys,
and if one of them disappears, the rest of them are like, oh, that's the way it is. Whatever. Maybe I'll talk to you tomorrow.
He's not going to be like, hey, you're going to get in a cab or something. Let me get you a cab.
Right.
Nope. Most of the guys will look at the guy and go, look at that dumbass. He's shit faced. He can't even walk.
Right.
Not even concerned about where he's going. Nothing.
Right. So I don't know. I'm not saying that everybody should be like tucking each other in bed, but like just some kind of. Okay, like, all four of us came out to have fun, and if we talk to chicks or whatever, great. But like some allegiance to the people you came with, and guys don't seem to have that. They're just kind of like, yeah, well, we don't know where he is. He's been gone for 2 hours. He probably left with some chick. We'll talk to him tomorrow, and that's it. They have no idea where he is, and they don't check.
Yep.
And we're kind of like, what? Like if we couldn't find a girl for 2 hours,
that would be horrendous. Yeah.
So
that's
anyway.
a different thing. So, and that just goes to show the mental health that in the community that men do not have, right? We have that community. We're protective of women. We're not protective of other men. And it's just, again, but society has changed and we need to, all, I mean, I'm lucky that I do have female friends that I can talk to about things. But then again, too, I'd like to be able to talk to male friends, and like I said, I have a couple in my circle.
See, that's good. And I think everybody listening should maybe do.
Yeah, because because
your girlfriend can't be your entire life,
right? And I mean, I talked to you. I went through a breakup a year and a half ago, or whatever it was, and I talked to you about it.
I'm easy to talk to though because I'll just give you
the logic, truth. And well, that's what I need, right? So do my guy friends. Actually, they give me the logic too. And again, there are some guys that if I went to with that and I'm feeling sad, they'd be, oh, big deal, go get laid.
Right? That's not the answer.
It's not the answer.
Not the answer. It sounds good.
It sounds good. It feels good, and then it's not the answer. Trust me.
Right.
Right.
Actually, I do know that.
Yes. It's a horrible feeling.
Right.
You're like, yes, here's my emotional side. I did have right after we broke up, and I felt horrible about it. I felt horrible. I felt I wasn't ready.
Yeah. I think it's I'm going to just get my charger 1 second.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries.
Dying.
So, yeah, I mean, guys, we have to kind of stick together. And two, you see the women have built community for each other, and they've been doing that for years and years and years. So we're way behind when it comes to that.
That's why they say it's live. Sorry.
Yes, it is. It's live. She just had to go and get her charger for her phone so we can still see each other. I wouldn't want that to go away. So, if we have community with each other, it's not a bad thing. It's a positive thing. Look, it works really well for women. So, we should note from their book.
Shouldn't there be guys that I understand that like a Bronx Tale is a possibility, but shouldn't there be something where hey guys get together and if you guys are all looking over an engine in a car, so what?
Right. Whatever.
Hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm working on this car. Oh, hey, you know what? I've been looking for, hey, this is how I do it. Oh, hey, great. Like,
yeah, we'll do that. Right. Yeah.
But that's, that's beginning.
Yeah, right? I mean, that's how we,
when you're in a situation like that,
we share things with each other when it comes to that. And I've noticed that my friends are like more like, for example, I'm building a military truck right now and my buddy already has one. And so I can call him with anything and he'll be like, oh yeah, you got to do this. You got to do that. And he loves it because it's something he's familiar with. Now we've all been through relationships. We've all been through breakups. So what is the difference if I call him and go, hey, I'm kind of going through this. Have you ever seen that before? Have you experienced it? What do you think I should do? This is how I feel. I mean, look, I just went through it with a good friend of mine. About it. And if he's listening, he knows too. And Probably a lot of people that do listen are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But he was going through a relationship type of thing that was horrendous. And I really had zero, what's the word I'm looking for? Patience with this, because I thought it was stupid. And I kept telling him it's stupid. And he's like, yo, just stop yelling at me. And I was, because I just wasn't getting across, because, you know, his dopamine was way off the charts. I mean, he was doped up from his dopamine to the point where he was just being stupid. And it killed me. But I didn't give up on him. You know, I didn't. I had to, you know, he's my friend and I care about him. So, and, you know, we can't just shut people off in our friend circle because we're men. We can't just go, who gives a shit? As long as he's having fun, I don't care what he's doing. I do care, you know?
Right. And so the whole thing about people being worried or men being worried to talk to each other about stuff that's emotional, I don't understand. And don't get me wrong, I'm the last, in all my relationships, I'm the least emotional person. So it's not like I don't understand that.
Right.
I'm usually the one that's kind of like, are you serious right now? Are you crying right now? Yeah. You know, I try not to do that, but sometimes I can't help myself. So, you know, I'm not perfect about that stuff either. And that comes from my background. You know?
Right. And
when I cry, that's what I say to myself. Are you serious right now?
I'm going to throw you under the bus right now. One time, Lana called me for a relationship thing, and she's like, listen, you need to talk me off a bridge, I think. Am I being stupid? But she's checking.
Right.
And she's checking herself because she knows about, you know, we already knew about the way the brain works. When you start getting into a relationship with somebody, your brain starts firing different and your dopamine kicks up and you start acting stupid. And she wanted to make sure she wasn't being stupid. She was not, for the record. She was okay.
I mean, I do know this. As you can be as stupid as you want about somebody until you act on it, it really doesn't matter.
Correct.
And I keep telling people that, you know, sure, you want to do this thing and you want to do that thing, and you can want to do all kinds of things, but as long as you don't actually do anything, you're safe. Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing to worry about.
It's what you're. So dopamine. If you didn't listen to our past episode, and shame on you if you didn't, because it's my favorite. Right. It's my favorite. It's how the brain works. Dopamine gets released when you first meet somebody. Dopamine also shuts down your frontal lobe. Your frontal lobe is what makes decisions, the proper decisions for you. For example, you say, oh my God, this baby's crying. I just want to whip him across the room. And your frontal lobe goes, nah, don't whip him across the room. He'll die. And you go, oh yeah, I don't want him to die. So that's your frontal lobe. That's what your frontal lobe does. So imagine being in a relationship without one of those. And guess what? When you begin a relationship, that's exactly what happens. You don't have one of those. So, you know, it's a pretty...
Or you do and it doesn't work.
You have it. It's just, it doesn't work for that specific...
pragmatist.
Yeah. So it's okay to feel like I want to whip this baby across the room, as long as you don't do it. Right?
Right. I honestly believe that whatever your... you know, so long as you're not sociopathic and serial killing people, you can have any kind of feeling or you can have any kind of thought process that you want, as long as you filter it through some kind of realistic action, right? Which is your frontal lobe, or inaction. Yes, exactly. It's your frontal lobe that does that, and you filter it and you don't actually act on it. You know, as much as you think that you want to at the moment, you don't actually do it. Listen. You know how many women I would have punched in the mouth if I didn't have a frontal lobe? I know. I'm just like, oh my God. I understand. I can see what you're saying.
You know, I wouldn't.
And I just, I mean, I don't, I think that if you, I always say this, like now I'm saying this because of the episode we had, that you should really just journal through it. Right. And that means, okay, well, I'm feeling like this person is like this, but let me like realistically look at this person and let me T-square it or T-graph it and look at both sides and see if I'm being honest to be realistic about what I'm seeing. Yes. And that's this
why
guy does this, and this, but I feel like he's this, and this. Does it add up? Does it add up? Right. You know what I mean? If you really don't know what to do and you're spinning. Yeah. Rather than just go and throw it all on top of the guy,
it's so important to have a list.
You can't regret.
Have your list, because
journal it.
That's why I have my list. My list is
well, the list is one thing, but also
my list is a checkbox to make sure that they are meeting these
right.
And
that's where it starts, right?
Yeah, because you'll look and you'll go, oh, she's not really that, and you know, right? You know,
right?
Even though you're like, but I don't care. But wait, I wrote it down for a reason. Did my mic just go away?
I didn't hear it.
Oh, okay, because I just popped loud or something. But yeah, so you make the check mark, and when you go to make that check mark next to that one, you know your brain is going to go, yeah, she's not the right one. She's not it. She does not reach that, take
Right.
that. And you go,
And you don't, and if, not that we're going back into a relationship episode because we're not,
right.
but you don't also have to, like, you don't have to marry somebody. So if you feel a certain way about something, or like, you don't have to necessarily completely get rid of them or whatever, but
Right.
you need to be a little bit more direct and honest with yourself about who it is that's in front of you. Really, it's just the work to do the thing to ground yourself, to say, okay, here's what this person is, and make a realistic decision about,
Right.
or at least one that has consequences that you understand.
You know, and
Like, if I do this, I know it's going to turn into this.
Isn't it-
And if you want to do that, fine, but know it.
isn't it amazing? We just touched on 3 or 4 episodes that
Yeah.
we've done. It stems from your childhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one. That's an episode.
Honesty.
The brain, honesty with yourself and others is another episode. If you want to dig deeper
Romance
into that.
versus friendship. Well, no, just romance, but that's okay.
Yeah, romance. Well, we kind of touched on that a little bit today, but
Right.
the list, which is very important in my opinion, to help with the frontal lobe thing, and the frontal lobe thing, which we did
The brain.
the brain one. Yeah. So we've done episodes on all these things. So, you know, if we're touching on things that you like, remember, we probably already have an episode that
Right.
dives deep into that, right? Because what we do is
Yeah.
have
So I'd say stop now, go back to the beginning, and listen to them all.
that's right, and come back and
If you have not done so already.
yeah, you definitely should. So the interesting thing about this is you know, men's health, and you know, we need to just do it. We need to say, you know what, it doesn't make you weak. You know, being an emotional person does not make you weak. And there's been this misconception for years and years. I'm an emotional person, and I can promise you I'm not weak. You know, you know, I'm not going to need to fluff my chest at you or any of that stuff, because who cares? You know what?
Right.
I have nothing to prove to you. What happens, no matter how emotional I am or what names you call me because I'm emotional, has no effect on my bank account, my happiness, and the people that I have in my life at all. So don't worry about what people think. If you
Right.
an emotional human being, who cares what
Right.
they think? They do not affect your life. And I can tell you, wouldn't you rather be with a guy that's emotional and can say how he's feeling if he needs to, instead of holding it inside and just treating you like an asshole?
I would say yes. You know, like I said, I happen to be really heavy into communication, which is another one of our episodes
Yes, it is.
that just recently happened.
That's right.
But you know, for me, it's let's sit down. Obviously, it's not as much of a I don't know how to put it, but for me, it's sit down and let's sit down and hash out what's happening here.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's part of it. That's part of it. So,
and whatever you feel like,
Yeah,
it
if
doesn't
you're feeling
matter.
something.
Whatever it is that you need to say. We just put it on the table and say, okay,
how do we fix it? How do we?
either how do we fix it, or how do we navigate this, or you know, we're a team and let's figure out
live
how
with it.
together we're going to get through this thing, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
How do you live with it? Like my childhood
Right.
crap didn't go away. It exists, right? But
Yeah,
I know how to
yeah,
live with
you
it. I know how
relearned.
to control, and I relearned how to live my life with that shit that's still there, right?
Mhm.
Like, and I explain this to people all the time, and I probably said it in one of our podcasts. If you've ever driven a shit box, and I think we all have, had that, you know, $400 car that, you know, got from point A to point B with a lot of smoke and duct tape, or you're driving down the street and your brakes are bad, and you got to pump those brakes a few times, you still drove the car. The car still got you to point A to point B just as good as a Ferrari would have. The only thing is, when you come to the lights, you already know I got to pump it a few times. Did you hate that? No, it still got you to where you got to go. The final destination was still complete. And that's what I tell people all the time. If you are in a relationship and you have some problems, but you put them on the table and you say, how do we, like your word, navigate this? How do we move forward? How do we continue with the problem the way it is? Well, we can do this and we can do that. Okay, that'll work. It doesn't mean your relationship.
And even the buddy system, and this in relationships is one thing, but even in friendships and family,
Same
any
thing.
kind of relationship you're having with somebody, friendships,
Yeah.
the buddy system is like, hey, you know, all right, now I know what I want to do, but you know, hey, just let's keep an eye on each other and let's just keep each other in check so that we continue the right path.
Right.
But don't forget to I wanted to bring up men's health, like their physical health. In the sense that I think more men should see doctors. I know men think that if they go to doctors, that's how they're going to find out what's wrong with them.
Right.
I just recently had somebody that I know that he hated going to the doctor, hated it, and of course died of a heart attack, and didn't know what was happening. You know what I mean? And it's
Yep.
it's preventable, and I don't believe that doctors are going to find stuff on purpose just because you showed up. I know a lot of guys think that's the case.
Right.
I don't know where that comes from, but I know a lot of guys.
I think people are scared now because there's so many different things you hear about. Like everybody's got cancer. So nobody wants to hear it. I mean, my father.
Nobody wants to hear it, but, and I'm not saying, I look at it like if I'm going to have it, I'm either going to have it, not know it, or I'm going to have it ahead of time and know what to do. Like the sooner I know about something, the quicker I can do something about it. So I don't want to hear about it, but it's not going to change just because I didn't hear about it. Do you understand? Like it's weird to me.
You think though? I don't know.
Yes.
I'm very weird when it comes to that. I think a lot of people, when they hear they get cancer or they get terminal something or they're going to die in 6 months, they start preparing to die. And to me,
that's a different story because that's what they decide to do when they hear what they hear. That's another story. But what I'm saying is, I have had people die of things that they could have prevented, but they just wouldn't go in and get checked for.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe
I'm one of them.
Maybe you decide that you don't want to deal with it when you go in and find out, but but at least to me, having the information is better.
You can't take it back though. Yeah. See, to me, I'm.
What do you mean take it back? Like it's either there or it isn't.
Once I get it, but if I don't know it's there, maybe I can live a happy life until I die, as opposed to knowing it's there and being scared. My father just went through cancer and they cured it and he was cancer free, and now he found out he might have cancer again and he's miserable. And it may not be. But here's the thing, too, is that, and now I got to say it because I know that there are listeners that know my dad. They think he might have cancer because he's got a high white blood cell count, very high. Could be an infection, could be a bunch of things. But the good news is that he just got over cancer and he was testing regularly afterward. Right. And now that showed up. So if it did show up, it's brand new cancer. So they should be able to get rid of it pretty quickly if that's the case, right? So I get the knowing early thing. It didn't take away the pain that he feels when he hears it.
No, but at least I don't know. Like I said,
you're not wrong. You're at, because my thought process on that is kind of stupid if I'm being honest, right?
I mean, I believe my mom is gone today because my mother waited 1.5 years to have anything checked.
My mother too.
My mother knew about it. And was afraid to go have it looked at. Just period for 1.5 years. And it got to the point where it was over the top and she had to have surgery. And I mean, she, had she found a lump and just immediately went and had it biopsied right away. Yeah. It would not have been, it maybe would have been as advanced, more advanced than we would like it, but it would have never been as advanced as it turned out.
Correct. That's the same thing with my mother. No way. I mean, my mother had some ailments and my mother didn't go to the doctors. She was not one of those person that went to the doctors and stuff for anything. And she ended up having lung cancer, but it had already metastasized in her spine when they found it, because she was having back pains for years.
Yeah. Now imagine if she had went and had that looked at like at the beginning when it first started and they had caught it.
Well, the back pain was started, like I said, she had it for years. So that means she had lung cancer that she lived with for years and years. And then it started spreading. And then she had back pain, which was caused by the cancerous laceration on the spine. And when they biopsied that's when they said, because I said, how do you know it's lung cancer if it was in her spine? And they said, it has lung cells in it. It traveled from the lung. So it came from the lung and she has lung cancer. Right. So whatever it was, if she had gone to the doctors regularly, they probably would have found a lump in her lung and been able to remove it. And she probably would have lived, whatever. But she died at 54. Which is younger than I am now. I've already outlived my mother,
Yep. I've already outlived my dad. Yep.
Yeah, which is crazy. So I get what you're saying, and I do not disagree with you. Unfortunately, I don't do that, though. I have this weird thing where I am scared to go and hear. I don't want to hear it.
Of course you don't.
I don't.
Nobody does, but I don't. And I'm going to bring this up, and everybody's going to think I'm really mean. It doesn't matter how you feel. What you want is not relevant to what's happening.
True.
So if my mom, because my mom died of breast cancer, the doctors are really, 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 really over the top with me.
Right.
I just went through like 3 years of 6 months and ultrasounds, and like I went through 3 years of them checking. After I had an excision, I went and had surgery. They checked me for 3 years to make sure that I didn't see anything. And if they saw something odd, I was in there for like 2 hours and they were doing all kinds of tests. I'm now finally back to a 1 year mammogram.
Right.
After 3 years, they finally got me back on like a regular schedule. Okay, everything looks good. You're finally back to once a year. If they see something, we'll start all over again. But I feel like, well, hell, at least there's no way they're going to not catch anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
Obviously, it's up to me from here on in to check until I see something, and if it gets more. But they can't be in that on top of me, with the exception of a cancer growing within a month.
And if it does, they can usually get it out.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm saying,
it's not a quick thing. It doesn't happen overnight. So
they can, they'll remove whatever cells they think are there that are abnormal if they see them.
Right.
They'll keep their eye on them, see if they change, all that kind of stuff. But they're very, very, and for me, it's annoying and it's upsetting, but it's reassuring that there's no way they're not going to see something.
Right. And for talking about men's health and me not doing this stuff, my mother died of cancer. My father's had cancer. My grandmother died from cancer. My uncle on my mother's side died from prostate cancer. So cancer has been in my family, right?
Right.
Now, I believe, because if you look at statistics, we have more cancer in the United States than the whole rest of the world combined. Right. Did you know that? That's crazy. So I do believe that it has a lot to do with the chemicals that we ingest. If you look at your food, I'm not going to plug my app, but if you're interested, send me a message and I'll send you. The app is free. It scans and it shows you the chemicals that are in there and what they cause. There's chemicals in our foods that can cause damage to our DNA, which if your DNA is damaged, you are susceptible to cancer immediately. There's a lot of that chemical. There's a majority of the food that we eat has cancer-causing substance in them, all of them. So this app allows you to scan the barcode and it'll tell you whether it's safe or not, whether it's a safe food or if it has these chemicals in it. And a majority of the food that we eat does. So if you're curious about that, which I am I do that now. But the thing is that, does that mean that I won't get cancer? No, it doesn't.
It doesn't mean you won't, but it's just one.
It's a step.
Why not be as informed as you can be?
That's what I say. And that's really why I built the app. I wanted people to at least know what.
I agree, but we can also apply that to you and you not going in and getting checked.
We can, yeah, and I do.
So you can eat all the good food you want, but if something's there and
I haven't had my blood test in 2 years, and that's bad. And I usually go once a year and get my full blood work done. I haven't done it in 2 years. So So I do.
Well, I think you be an example to the men around you.
I know, and I'm not doing it. But
I mean, I haven't had a colonoscopy yet, and I'm almost 55, so
I'm dodging that like a bastard.
Yeah, I actually don't. I don't know. The only thing I don't like to. I have a thing where I don't want to depend on anybody for anything, and if I can't drive myself to the doctor and back, then I won't go.
Yeah,
I don't want to have to get rides from people, and if I get an Uber, how do I know the guy in the Uber is not going to just drive me to
Timbuktu,
West Virginia somewhere? If I'm all drugged up, I won't know where I'm at, right? So. I do have friends that
find that to be a joke.
Yes, I do have friends that will, they're like, just go and tell me about it, and I'll just drop you off, like whatever. And I'm just like, I know, but it's just an inconvenience.
It is, and that's you.
But that's it. I will deal with that. I know I need to.
Well, there's another thing. There's another thing you can do that does not.
I already did.
Oh, you did that one already?
I already did that. Came back inconclusive. I could do it again, but all of my doctors are like, why don't you just go get it done? Just go get a full one done.
I haven't even done that one yet. So what we're talking
told
about
me I need to.
Anyway, it's called Cologuard.
It's called Cologuard, yeah.
So Cologuard, you shit in a tin can and mail it out or something. I don't know. And they check it and see if you've got any cancerous cells in your poop. And
right. Or if there's any polyps, whatever it is, it's like something like 92% effective as far as I can see some stuff. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I might as well just, I'm going on 55 and it's been long enough that I should just do it.
Right.
And so I'm going to do it. That's on my list this year.
And
to get done.
At this point, let's see. Yeah, at this point, I will definitely be 56 as this episode is released. Oh.
Yes, by the time this episode is released.
Yeah.
Yes, we're a little early. We do our stuff a little early.
Yeah, we try.
But yeah, that'll be it. You'll be 4 days, 56 in 4 days?
Yeah, I hope. Yeah.
56, 3 days.
No.
That's Monday.
Oh, today's the 23rd.
Yes, but we're not, the today, meaning the today that people are hearing this, is going to be in.
No. They get the Halloween episode first, right?
Okay, the Halloween episode's on the 27th, and that was last week.
Yes.
This week is going to be the 3rd of November.
Oh, yeah.
That this drops.
Yeah, so I will already be old.
Yes, so you will be 56 in 3 days or 4
yeah.
days, whatever.
Oh, and I thought you said in. Okay.
No, and 4 days.
I wasn't listening to you.
You never do. That's okay.
I try. I'm listening to myself. I like hearing myself.
I would like to challenge men out there to go and get just like a complete physical just once. And if you do it all the time every year, then good for you, right?
You do. You get used to it too. Like I was going to the doctor regularly at one point, and I was really healthy. I felt good. I was going and I was getting my blood done. I was going every 6 months. I was getting, I'm a single guy, so I would get chest tested for, the sexually transmitted stuff to make sure I'm still nothing's going to fall off or turn black and wither away, or I took care of myself. And for the past couple of years, I have not, and I'm not a big fan of that. And I'd like to get back into it because I did feel better, and I think when I feel like pains and stuff, and again, I'm 56 years old, so when I feel pains or something doesn't feel right, I get a little worried, and I go, Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Do I have a
and that's worry that, you know what that worry causes, Dave?
Yeah, sicknesses, actual physical.
It causes stress. And what does stress do? Yes.
Health issues. Stress opens you up to cancer, by the way. If you guys don't know that, if you're very stressed all the time, you're more susceptible to get cancer than somebody who's not. Because listen, when we go out in the sun, and I've done a lot of research on cancer, the second we walk out into the sun, as soon as the sun hits our skin, cancer cells start to grow immediately. But our body is capable of fighting off cancer. Now, generally, because if we were not a stressed person, then we would be less likely to ever get cancer if you have no stress in your life. In fact, and I don't think I told this story. Did I ever tell this story in one of the podcasts?
You did. I don't know if you told it in the podcast or not. I thought you might have, but I've heard it a few times, so I don't know where I've heard it. I've heard it from you, but I'm not sure when. Yeah.
So anyway, I met a couple, and I'll be brief. I met a couple. She had cancer, went through surgery, chemo, all that stuff. She was very, very sick for like a year and a half, going through all the chemo and stuff. Then she was cancer-free. And then time went by, and they said, you have cancer again. And she had a big tumor in her lung. And they said, she's going to die. This is, they could operate, they could take it out, but it's already starting to spread through other parts of her body, through her lymph nodes. And so they said, and she said, so she told her husband, who was a doctor, by the way, I don't want to do it. If I get 6 months to live, then so be it. I'll live happily because I don't feel sick. I'm going to live happily for 6 months. And when I die, I die. And that's what she chose to do. And he said, what do you want to do? So he took a sabbatical, took time off of work, as a doctor, like I said, and they bought an RV and they started traveling. When I met them, they were 2 years in already. Okay. And she was cancer-free, no surgeries, no chemo, no nothing. I mean, she did stuff like coffee enemas and stuff like that, stuff that cleans out your system. And I turned to her husband and I go, explain that to me because I just don't get it. How does that happen? And he said, no stress. We're traveling around in an RV, traveling around the country, and we're together all the time. We're sitting out by the fire, and no stress, no daily stress. So her body cured herself from cancer. Oh, and by the way, let's see, I've been doing it 9 years now. I'm 9 years, so that's 11 years. And I talked to them probably about 6 months ago. She's still alive and cancer-free, by the way. So
how many years are they into it now?
It's 11.
Oh, for them? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. I thought you meant for you. Sorry.
No, for me, it's 9. They were already 2 years in when I first started. So, so I stay in contact with them. But 11 years. She was supposed to be dead in 6 months, right? Because she had this very fast spreading cancer and it was already getting to her lymph nodes. She's cancer-free just from removing stress from her life. She's not on any medication, didn't do anything. So that has a lot to say about stress in your life.
Right.
So
that story did help me in the sense that I decided, and then I'm not completely stress free, but I'll be honest with you. The one thing I love to do and what relieves stress for me is hiking. I love it.
Yeah.
And
whatever you do.
Me and my dog, we just go out for an hour a day and get into nature and just reset.
Right. So you know, she has a shirt on that has a Rottweiler on it. Yeah.
Yes. I said, I love my Rottweiler.
Yeah.
A friend of mine made this for me. But yeah, having my dog is stress-free.
Oh,
I'm now in a position where I'm making a little more money and I'm not stressing about bills. That's gone.
Yeah.
And I'm working from home, which is a major stress for me to get in my car and go to a job.
Right.
It's a really big deal for me to be at home. It's very stress-free for me to be not in an office.
And with this new job, you're dealing with a different group of people too. That is
a different group of people. So I kind of enjoy my job more. I'm learning. I know it sounds really weird, but I'm not stagnant in my job, and I'm learning every day. There's so many different things that I have to learn to do. And so my day is never the same twice.
Which is great.
I love what I do on the side. I love DJing. I'm DJing, but I'm not DJing so much that I'm exhausted. It's just enough for me to enjoy it and make extra money, but it's not so much that it's making me tired.
It doesn't cause you stress.
So it's
not like I got too many things going on. Yeah.
Right. So, and I mean, I do have a lot of things going on, but I'm just saying everybody look through your life and just say, okay, what can go? What stresses me that I don't need here?
Right.
That's a big deal.
And
anyway,
yeah, whatever.
Especially the men, because that's who we're talking to.
Right. I get it. I mean, but this goes for everybody too. The stress thing. That's for everybody. And, and also people talk about, prostate cancer. So they're like, I don't really have to worry about prostate and doing all that because I'm a woman. No, you do. My ex actually died from prostate cancer, which is very rare in women, but it does happen. And it was very aggressive. So it's not something that they look for all the time. So getting that colonoscopy will help with that.
Right.
That's a.
And if there are polyps or anything while I'm in there,
they take them out.
They'll just put them right. They'll just put me right to surgery while I'm there. And
it'll take a little
longer, but you don't even
know because while they're up there, they get that little probe thing has a little clipper on the end of it, and they just snip them out and take them with them.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. So, if they do find anything, I drink a lot of coffee for them. Definitely not irregular by any means.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, stuff like that's my thing this year that I need to do. It's something that I want to make sure I get taken care of. Just some little thing that bothers me, and it's been inconvenient for me. But anyway.
But as a man,
as a guy,
I will start going back, and I will start getting back
just for full physicals,
regular physicals. Yeah, I mean that stuff is important because it is. I've never looked in the whole time I've done it. They've never found anything major bad. They found something that was annoying to me since I was a little kid, and I got rid of that, and it made a big difference in my life, which I didn't think. I was afraid to even say anything about it because I was like, I don't know, but it's been around since I was 12 years old or 10 years old. And, I had this little growth and I was afraid to tell them, hey, what is this? And they told me, and the guy came in, so the second person came in to look at it, and he literally just sprayed it with some stuff and grabbed hold of it with tweezers and cut it off. And it was a skin tag, but it was something that it was causing me stress for years.
Right.
It was something as simple as that. So, the thing is that, can you hear my squeaky chair?
I just think worrying is unhealthy.
It is.
It's just unhealthy, even if you do know what you have.
Right.
And even if there is something that they find, because it's not going to matter whether you go to the doctor or not. If it's there, it's there.
True.
It's better to know and have a game plan. It's okay. Just to have the information, I think. You don't,
yes.
Worrying is worse.
I know, but then once you have something, like if I go to the doctor and they say, oh, you've got cancer, well, that's going to change my whole thought process. You can't tell me to be stress-free after that. I'm going to be, is this the day? Is this the day? Is this the day?
Well, this woman she figured it out.
Correct.
Right?
She did. She just said, I'm just going to live stress-free and I'm going to go. And that's what she chose to do. And it saved her life.
Right.
Right. So I think, yeah. So I
not doing too bad.
That's our story for today. I hope you guys loved it because I loved it. And guys, start taking care of each other. We're okay. It doesn't make you whatever word you want to use.
It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you needy. It doesn't make you. If you are a man that needs support from other guys as far as your life is concerned, as far as like men's health issues, there are things that men have as health issues that, women have breast cancer and they all really rally around each other for that. Right. There are things that men's heart health and men's mental health. There are things that men have that are prone to.
Right. I mean, if you go to breast cancer awareness event, it's majority women. Guys will go to support it because they're dragged usually from a woman, right? They already have their support groups, and
right. And I really do think men should do the same.
I do too.
And and things like just this week is just on my mind, so I thought about it. Things like being a single dad,
right?
And networking with other single dads.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
what is wrong with
I have
going
kids,
to the park with
right.
another guy and letting your kids play?
Or even online groups or whatever, just somewhere where you can have conversations with people that are where you're at and know what you're dealing with and can give you pointers on stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
I have 2 kids, my kid's mom is not in the picture, or I'm going to a custody or battle or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? I don't know. Why not?
They do have groups. I forget what it's called. There are groups out there that for men that are having a difficult time, like going through custody battles, or they're not allowed to see the kids, or they're being kept from them. There's groups out there that help men with that, and a lot of guys, we don't ask for help, so we'll just give up. I
will say this: if there are groups out there like that, I feel like as a woman that they're not talked about enough, or they're not.
They're not.
There's not enough awareness.
They're not
like that, because
here's the thing: is like, I'm not going to get too into this, but there was a time where I didn't see one of my kids because I kind of didn't want to interact with that child's mother, and so it was very difficult. And instead of me just having support and doing it, like, there's no way in hell a woman would have done that. She would have been like, I'm coming to get my kid and I'm bringing my friends. You know what I mean?
Right.
But guys, we don't do that. A lot of guys, kind of don't see their kids because they have a fear of coming in contact with the mother for whatever reason, including myself. And that's not a good enough excuse. But that's the that's the reason, But
if you're just somewhere on your own and you're dealing with this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, it sucks.
And you don't really have a sounding board for that. Like, you probably just think you're the only one going through it, right? So you probably don't, like, somebody, at least a bunch of other people that say, listen, I'm going through the same thing.
Right.
And here's what I did, or here's where I'm at, or I went through that a year ago. I think it's helpful to guys that are going through it that think that they're like, the only ones.
It
or
is,
that they're
because
isolated.
I thought that was me. And then, I not lost touch, but I didn't see my child as much as I should have or wanted to. I didn't, had there been another guy or if I had spoken to guys about it, because I did talk to women about it, and they're like, well, that sucks. And, you have to just blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable doing that, and I would have been great to hear it from a guy's standpoint that has been through it before and what he did. And you're absolutely right. And I wish that stuff did exist back then for me.
It might have, but like, what if you didn't? There's so many guys that just don't really know that.
Nah, it's not like I went and talked to a bunch of guys about it. I just didn't.
Right.
I just kind of kept to myself about it. And that's what we got to stop doing. So
yes.
Yeah. Anyway, that was
shout it out, dudes.
Yeah.
Let's hear from you.
Yeah. So this is the logical discussion of men's health, and
that's right.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. And hey, don't forget, if you liked it, send us a kudos. Give us a call at 1-800-894-2158 and say, hey, I love that. Or, hey, you guys suck. Whatever you want to say, tell us a joke. You've got a topic you want us to talk about, or you have a story. You can tell your story on the voicemail. And also, if you do not want it on the air, start your conversation by, please do not put me on the air. And we will not. We will just take your story and we'll talk about it. And again, we don't use names or anything like that in our stories. Right. We protect all the people, and we've had a lot of stories on here already about people, and we don't use their names. And then also, don't forget guess what we're drinking?
Yeah.
What are we drinking?
We're drinking coffees who one of our listeners bought this coffee for us, right?
That's right.
We won't say who, because we don't like to be discussed.
Yeah, some we don't know if they want to be discussed or whatever. But so we also, if you want to just call and leave us a message and say, hey, we love your podcast, or whatever you want to say, we'll put that on the air. We've done it in the past.
Oh, also, leave us a 5-star review.
Yes, please.
5 stars. And this is in the show notes, or in the show. Yeah. In the show notes, there's like a thing that says, review this 5 stars. So give us 5 stars. Of course, I won't tell you to do it if you don't want to, but please, I hope you do.
Yeah.
But also give us a review. If you do that, it actually, helps more people to find our podcast.
Yeah, it does. The more reviews we get on our podcast, the more people they show it to on their own when people look
Right.
for podcasts to listen to. So that's what that
Yep.
does, and it doesn't even have your name on it.
Right.
Unless
you want to.
Unless you want to do a review and type a review. But again, you can call that 800 number and tell us right to our face, which is wonderful. Right. So there's that, and you can find us on all the social media that's out there. Yeah. And
all social media and all podcast media.
Yeah.
We're out there.
Just search Lana and Dave on social media, or you can go to www.lanaanddave.com, and that's LANAANDDAVE.com. And thanks for listening this week.
Yes.
We'll catch you next week.
We'll see you soon. See you next week. Hey, you just listened to Love and Life with Lana and Dave. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please share the podcast, leave us a comment or review, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any new content. We'll see you soon.